All right, welcome to the second episode of Dids in the Dugout. And the name of this show is not going to make any sense because we're not going to talk a single bit of baseball today. The Ole Miss Rebels opened fall camp this past week, so we've got plenty of football to talk about. So we're going to go through just kind of what we're looking for a little bit for the Ole Miss Rebels on the field this year. And then towards the end of the show, we're going to look at season over-unders on win totals for teams in the SEC. And kind of talk about that and see if there's anything we're interested in placing a bet on there. But I'm joined again by my good friend Anthony Hitchcock. Hitch, how you doing, bud?
Great. I'm here for the win totals.
Yeah. That's kind of what I figured. That's why it's in the show for you. But yeah, like I said, Ole Miss open fall camp. Obviously, a lot of questions with this Ole Miss Rebel football team. A team that can be very, very good if some of the questions get answered the right way for us. So we've got a big quarterback battle on our hands right now in Oxford, Mississippi. That's obviously going to take the headlines for most people, right? We've got four really good quarterbacks. You've got the incumbent Jackson Dart coming back, who, if anybody's listened to me talk about this football team, I thought was really good for us last year. I thought he had a really solid year. But you also bring in Spencer Sanders from Oklahoma State. He was a former Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year under Mike Gundy.
I watched him play a few times.
Yeah. I mean, he's really good, really talented kid. He's back to 100%. Apparently, he was dealing with injuries since he come into Ole Miss. Kind of lost some reps there during the summer and all, but apparently 100%. And then you got the talented transfer freshman Walker Howard from LSU.
He's interesting.
Yeah. Some people say that he's one of the most talented quarterbacks to ever come through Ole Miss. And then you get the wild card, Austin Simmons, the freshman that signed and reclassified and went ahead and enrolled at Ole Miss, which, look, he's not going to end up starting for us, but I've also heard people say that he might be the most talented high school quarterback that we have ever signed at Ole Miss. So a lot of depth there in the quarterback room. It'll be interesting to see how it all shapes out. But just kind of your opinion, what are you looking for from the quarterbacks? Who do you expect to win this competition? And keep in mind, everybody, we're not at practices. We're not insiders or anything like that. We're just
we are experts.
Yes, experts, correct. Yeah. So we're just two guys that watch a lot of college football. Been watching Ole Miss for years and years, and so what do you think about the quarterback competition? Do you expect Dart to hold on to it?
I do, but I don't have any basis for that other than the fact that he was the quarterback last year.
Yeah.
I think that on the field he did enough to keep the position. But like you said, we're not in practice. I don't know.
I always go back to look what happened with Matt Corral from year one under Kiffin to year two. And I mean, Corral obviously had a really good year that first year with Kiffin, but that second year, if it wasn't for injuries, he was constantly in the talk of the top two or three in the Heisman voting up until he ended up hurting his ankle there, against Auburn, Tennessee, those games, and had a lot of injuries at wide receiver that really hampered him too there. So I go back to that and think as talented as Dart is, and as much as he flashed last year, having an extra year under his belt with Kiffin, this being the second year, I expect him to take another big jump forward.
Well, it's interesting you say that because what I was thinking when you were talking earlier about the quarterbacks was, and I don't have anything to back this up, it's just first thing that popped in my head was Dart's year last year reminded me of Corral's sophomore year.
Yeah. Which is essentially what Jackson Dart was last year because he started, I think, 4 games or whatever at USC.
But he looked great at times and made unbelievable throws and then looked real bad at times, almost trying to do too much.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is an impossible habit to break.
Yeah.
As a previous high school athlete, I guess. It's difficult to not go all out and not give it all that you've got and try to make the best play that you can.
Yeah.
Because you have this mentality of the play is still going until I'm down.
Yeah, sometimes the mentality of live to play the next play doesn't really sink in. It's kind of hard to really grab a hold of.
Well, because you think I can make the play. I can do it. But, and so I think that gets kids sophomores, freshmen in
Uh-huh.
trouble.
It does.
A lot of times, and maybe this 1 year of growth, one more year of practice makes them realize, hey, throw it away.
Yeah.
And live to fight another day.
Yeah. Throw it away, and also maybe slide or run out of bounds here and there. Like quit lowering your shoulder against SEC linebackers.
As much as I love to see
and it fires me up, man. Every time I see them do it, it gets me so fired up when I see them pop up.
And as a parent, now, not only is it go down, protect the ball, it's like go down, protect yourself.
Yeah. Protect yourself.
Like, but I get it again. Going back,
It's the competitive part of it, right?
Those celebrated high school days that we're talking about. Like, I'm not going down. If I didn't play football, but
and it's also different if it's like third down and you need to lower your shoulder for an extra yard to get the first down or something. But man, on first down, if you're scrambling, you get your 5-6 yards or whatever.
Get what you can get.
Get what you can get. Go out of bounds. Get down. Protect yourself. Live to play the next play instead of lowering your shoulder and trying to make a 5-6 yard gain, 7 or 8 to set yourself up for just a little bit shorter, right?
And hopefully that's what Dart does, right? He gets, like, I don't know, talent wise, you don't get any better than what he is, but like up here, you get better, and hopefully does. I don't know much about the two young kids from LSU and the other freshmen.
Simmons I
watched Bryson Sanders a few times over the past few years for whatever reason. He's good.
He's very good.
Man, I wouldn't be surprised to see some sort of dual attack with Dart throwing the ball and Sanders coming in. I hate it. I don't want that.
Yeah, no, I don't think you'll see anything like that, because it's my understanding that the reason Walker Howard is here is we promised him at least the second team quarterback job. That way he's not running scout team. He's actually getting reasonable reps in practice so he can develop. So he'll be set up to take over the team next year or a year after, whatever the case may be, because that was his problem at LSU. He was behind Jalen Daniels and I forget the other kid's name. Another really talented freshman down there who they're very, very high on. And basically Howard spent all year running the scout team for him and didn't get any,
Joe Burrows.
Joe Burrow. Not Joe Burrow. Thank God he's out of SEC.
Rohan Davey.
Oh man, that's a good one. Blast from the past. Yeah. My Rohan Davey memory is when Ed Orgeron took the Brett Schaefer led Ole Miss Rebels down to Baton Rouge, a game we had no business being in whatsoever, and we ended up taking them Fools to overtime.
Yeah. Sorry, I sidetracked.
No, it's fine. It
party.
actually brings up a pretty good memory. My brother had such a good time watching that game with us. He actually tried running through a door, not realizing that it was glass.
Okay.
The door won.
I know the end. Okay, but never mind.
The door won, 100%.
Okay.
Went flying down 3 steps after that. But anyway, we do digress a little bit.
Get what you deserve.
Yeah, that's right. Well, he deserved it that night, I promise you. So Howard's here apparently to be able to get meaningful reps in practice so he can develop. Now, I guess we'll see how that ends up going, because it is such a talented quarterback room. And, once a starter's named, maybe one of these guys is on the move. If Spencer Sanders is able to get a degree.
Yeah.
If he ends up getting a degree, he can be a grad transfer then. But I also think he's got till like August 21st to do it, something like that. I think that's the cutoff for him to be able to jump back in the portal as a grad transfer to be eligible if he were to go somewhere else.
All right. Take a trip with me here.
Okay.
What if we try to do something with him like we tried to do with John Ross and have him as
John Rice?
What I said, John Ross, sorry.
Yeah.
John Rice.
Yeah.
So John Ross McCartney, I guess.
No. Well, no, John Ross.
But like have him as like a split receiver or something.
Yeah, I don't know enough about Spencer Sanders about whether he's even able to do that or not, or if he'd even be interested in doing it, right? I mean, you're talking about a guy that's started 3 or 4 years in the Big 12.
But it's winning. There's no I in team.
Yeah, I hear you. I wish they all saw it that way. But to get off the quarterbacks for a second, not only does Ole Miss maybe have the deepest quarterback room in the country, might have the deepest running back room. We bring back what I think is the best running back in the entire country, Quinshon Judkins. I mean, he's unbelievable. I've never seen anybody run like him. He's able to outrun you in the open field, and he's able to take the ball, get between the tackles, and he's able to make you miss in a very small box in there too. He's very shifty. He can get around linebackers, get through the defensive line, get to that second level. And if he gets to that second level, gets ahead of steam, you might as well get the hell out of his way.
Or you're not catching him.
Yeah, or you're not catching him, one of the two. So don't have to spend a lot of time on Quinshon. I think he's a legit Heisman Trophy candidate this year. He's going to explode in this offense. But what Lane Kiffin and them did, they went out and they built this running back room so he doesn't have to carry that big load all year for us. We bring back Ulysses Bentley, who was on the team last year.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, I do too. He dealt with injuries
was just too crowded last year.
Yeah, it was crowded and injuries. That was kind of the thing with him last year. But hopefully he's healthy. He's one of those that's a real shifty running back, and I think can really give us a boost in the passing game coming out of the backfield. I think he can really help us there. But then you bring in this freshman, Ruscano, out of Houston, Texas. He was a 4-star running back, really, really talented player, one that the coach staff's really high on. And then, just this past weekend, we get a grad transfer from Oregon State with Jan Griffin. He's like a little bowling ball out there. But
I was going to say, that name's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
It's like Jelly Walker from UAB.
Yeah.
It's a fun name. I love it.
Yeah. But he's the kind of guy that I think, again, will be able to get in between the tackles, which I think will be a strength for Ole Miss when we get to the offensive line here in just a second. But he's just like a little bowling ball, man. He was like 3rd or 14th for Oregon State, but he averaged over 6 yards a carry for him. Whenever he did get the ball, he always made things happen.
What class is he?
He's a grad transfer, so I Bleav he's a senior this year.
Oh, okay. Grad
so, yeah. But I think we're in for a real treat with the running back room. I think we've got 4 guys there, that 3 that can spell Judkins, and Judkins being, in my opinion, the best running back in the entire country as a sophomore.
Yeah. And I mean, this conference is like, you have to have a running game.
Yeah, and it's just absolutely loaded, man. And that's why you have to have somebody that can take some of those carries. Yeah,
you got to have 4 running games.
Yeah, he can't tote the load for you, right? You need him fresh, which is one thing he always seemed to be like last year.
And on top of that, it's beneficial to have the different kinds of runners, right?
Yeah,
like
you don't want the same guy coming in over and over and
every
over
time,
again.
right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's being able to spell them, but it's also some guys can't catch it out of the backfield.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
and again, that's where Bentley comes in, where he can help you. And Ruscano, he seems to be more of your speedier.
He's going to be a fullback.
No, he's not.
With that name, he's going to.
No. I don't think Lane Kiffin will ever have a fullback on his roster.
We're going to put some weight on him, bulk him up.
Okay. Well, look, it just might happen. I may be sitting here in a couple of years like a complete idiot, but I'll take my chances. But now the offensive line. One thing I'm excited about with the offensive line, we return both bookend tackles. And in this league, it's so important to have experience up front. Well, you've got a left tackle and a right tackle, both who were true freshmen last year and played the entire year at tackles for us. So they have that year of experience under their belt. Coming back as sophomores with all that knowledge and experience playing in this league, going through the grind of the season, right? Week after week after week playing these guys. And now we get them back to kind of lead this offensive line. And I think that's going to be huge for not only Dart, but also those running backs. And I think it'll also allow these receivers time to kind of mesh and get open for Dart to find them. What do you think?
Yeah. The thing to me about these positions on both sides really is when you go from freshman to sophomore to junior, you're going from 18 to 19 to 20.
Yeah.
You're going from...
You're physically developing.
Depending on where you went to school at, you're going from no weight program or a really crappy weight program to a legit weight program is going to put weight on you.
Well,
and
yeah,
muscle.
especially in the SEC, you're talking about,
Yeah.
I mean, basically an NFL-like type program.
Yeah.
You're not going to go to any Division I school or conference and get that, but in this league, in the Big Ten, programs like that, you're going to get that day in, day out. Not only the weightlifting, but the dietary stuff like that. We'll make sure you're eating
all
right
of
on top
the
of it,
stuff.
from top to bottom.
Steroids.
Yeah.
No,
We do not do steroids in Oxford.
no, I'm just kidding. But it's different lining up against a 22-year-old man
Yeah.
as an 18-year-old kid.
Mm-hmm. Unless you're Laramie Tunsil.
Well, there are exceptions.
Yeah.
But for the most part, that year of bulking up, getting strong, and being able to hold their own in the trenches, like, to me, that's almost more important than making sure that you know that you're supposed to pull here. And I mean, it's not more important, but you get what I'm saying.
No.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're saying. And in this league, you really need all of it, right? Like, it's if you get down into your Conference USA stuff like that, then maybe one or the other ends up working for you and makes you a premier player in that league. But in this one, you have to have all of it, and that's one thing that, again, with the two most important offensive line positions, in my opinion, now center is obviously another issue because you had the snapping too. We saw that last year. I think we'll be a lot better there this year too because we're returning our starter there too. But just talking about the tackles alone, I always thought it was so important to have those bookend tackles to keep those big rush ins off of you, because you look at the way college football and the NFL's going now.
Those speed guys on
everybody
the outside
is trying to get pass rushers, right? So you've got to try to keep them off balance.
Those guys on the outside are all 6'7", 250 pounds instead of, whatever, 6'3", 340.
Yeah, right. So it's obviously important to have that, though, and that's one thing I think Ole Miss will do well with this year. Not the last part. You also have.
Wait, you said the center. I'm curious, how difficult is it to snap? I don't know if anybody's watching this, anybody's listening to this.
It is
in the
very
comments.
difficult.
Yeah, if you're watching, listen, like in the comments, I have no idea. I assume it's difficult to make sure you get the ball into the quarterback's hands.
Yeah,
and then block a guy.
Yeah.
Can you describe with your words how difficult it is?
Yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah, go ahead. But in this offense in particular, is timing oriented and stuff like that as it is, and the fact that we never go under center. It's going to be a shotgun snap every single time. You saw us go through a little bit of a point last year where we went more with a pistol to get him up closer. It wasn't really under center, but you basically cut it in half to try to help the center exchange out a little bit there. And that did seem to work. I thought that was a good adjustment by the coaching staff there with all the troubles we had. But hopefully,
that's what you want to see.
Yeah. You got to make adjustments. You got to do
sort of an adjustment,
what your guys can do. But if I'm not mistaken, Caleb Warren's going to be the center again this year. He kind of filled in for some last year there and struggled a little bit, but I think he is a real deal between the tackles, offensive lineman, guard, center, whichever one. Now, obviously, I think he's a much better guard. Whenever you take an entire process away from a guy, right? So you just focus on one thing, right? Yeah. Now, with him having to snap the ball and everything too. But really talented kid. I think he's going to get it figured out. They've been able to work on it ever since the year ended last year too. So I think offensive line could really be a strength for us as long as we don't deal with a lot of injuries, which is something you're going to deal with at some point or another throughout an SEC season.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because again, I don't know anything about this. The center is also the guy that's making the calls.
A lot of times it is
shifting the line, and stuff.
A lot of times it is
on top of learning a new, not even a new position, but also all of the information for that new position.
Yeah. A lot of times it is the center that shifts the line, recognizes blitzes, stuff like that, and tries to shift. Now, if I'm not mistaken, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong here, that Matt Corrals last year, he was the one that did all that for us.
You're wrong.
I am wrong? Okay, that's fine. But we had a lot of center exchange problems his last year too, and it kind of carried over last year. So if I'm not mistaken, I Bleav Matt Corral did all that too. But yes, ideally you want your center to be the guy that sits there and calls out either a blitz or a line shift, something like that.
You're always seeing them like
identifying,
look it up and
identifying linebackers, stuff like that. So, but we'll see if that's something that we're able to get done this year or not. We got a couple really talented tight ends this year, Hitch. Bringing in Prescorn from Memphis. He was an All-Conference USA player who has apparently really flashed so far in fall camp and summer. And then you got Michael Tree coming back, big guy from USC, kind of a little bit of a disappointment last year. But also at the same time, you saw flashes of the kind of playmaker he could be. And apparently we're going to see a lot of 12 personnel with 2 tight ends on the field this year, which I think is really going to help us.
I love how the tight end position has evolved.
Mm-hmm.
I guess with guys like Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Maybe people before. That's the first I remember, maybe.
Yeah.
But then but evolved even more to more athletic guys, like Antonio Gates, who never even played football, and stuff. And so it just adds another offensive weapon for Lane Kiffin to draw something crazy up, That's great.
Yeah. And so I think that's one thing that's going to be really interesting for us, see how we incorporate these tight ends. I think we're really talented there with two
You got to think
guys.
that. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
You got to think that Trigg is a mismatch for
anybody,
any linebacker, any
safety,
whoever.
I mean, he's basically a much bigger Evan Ingram when Evan was here.
Yeah,
I mean, because he can run almost as well as Evan, but he's got such a big body on him. You would think he'd be able to use that.
He's so athletic,
super athletic. Yeah.
Like the things he can do with his body in the air.
He can be a real force if he wants to be. I just really hope he wants to be.
Like he could be a wide receiver, but he's too big.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I know. And speaking of receiver, that's another big position for us. We got several transfers coming in. You got Trey Harris from La Tech, if I'm not mistaken. He's coming in. He's had a pretty good camp. Got Zachary Franklin from UTSA. Ended up getting him in school. Now he just underwent a surgery, so he's not quite ready to play yet. But
I watched them a few times.
Yeah. Me and you've watched them together a couple times.
I'm familiar with him.
Yeah. Big Roadrunner fans over here. But yeah, we got a couple guys that hopefully can take over and take that next step for us. You got Aiden Williams coming in, the freshman from Mississippi. He's really looked good too. So looks like Dart or Sanders, whoever wins this competition, somebody's going to have potentially some weapons out there, and we really need it.
Oh, and you better have 10 receivers.
That's
everything
it. Yeah, especially when you go down and play Tulane second week of the year, and it's going to, that thing starts at like 2:00 in New Orleans. It's going to be like 120 something degrees on that field, and I mean, guys will be cramping up left and right. So
I don't know. I'm trying to think. It's like we talked about with the baseball stuff. You had like catchers and shortstops like locked in.
Yeah.
I don't know, for the past 20 years. Maybe all the way back to like Chris Collins, Mike Espy, Tay Biddle, even before those guys, Corey Peterson. There's always been somebody that I've been, okay, that's the guy this year.
Yeah.
I don't know any of these guys, so
I don't leave my man Bill Flowers out either. Okay.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Come on, man. Get it together over here.
Yeah, it's always been, but for whatever year this year, and some of it's probably on me because I haven't.
Well, a lot of it is so many new faces. That's what it is.
I just don't. Yeah, exactly.
All
new faces.
Yeah, we've got all these new faces that are coming in. But that's one position we've always done well with. I assume we will do well with it again.
I assume that when Lane's bringing these guys in, he knows what he's looking for.
Yeah, 100%. So, and then the biggest turnover we have on the entire football team, we brought in 16 transfers on the defensive side alone. Got Pete Golding coming in, and he obviously didn't. I'm not going to say he didn't like what he saw when he got there, but he obviously thought he needed some more bodies on that side. I think that's
the biggest transfer.
Yeah, getting
on
Golding
the defensive
in.
side.
Yeah. but like I said, he's gone out and he's got some guys though. He's going to try to rebuild this defense. I was on with Steven on the Locked On show a few days ago, and me and him talked about it a little bit. For me, the one thing I'm looking at for every football team, I don't care what level it is, I want to know what you look like on the offensive line and the defensive line, because that's where you're going to win games. On either side of the ball, you got to control the line of scrimmage. It's one thing Golding's always been good at. Now, I understand he was at Alabama and he had, 25 5-stars that he could figure out a way to control the line of scrimmage with. So it's a little bit different here. But he was also really good at coming up with schemes and confusing offensive linemen. That's one thing you heard people in post games talk about all the time whenever they would play Alabama, was just how confused that they would be with their defensive linemen and linebackers and their stunts and the way they would be creative to get pressure on you, even though they really didn't need to get that creative because they were so much talented than you are.
Oh,
so
yeah.
but that's one thing he's going to have to dive into is to get really creative, and he's gone out and he's got some players that I think can really play in this league, but only time will tell on it.
Oh, for sure. When I'm looking at defenses for whatever reason, that's one of the first things I look at.
Yeah.
Too, is how they are against the run. But beyond that, I think probably what I'm more interested in are things like, how do they tackle? Are they suspect to? That's it, right? Suspect. Yeah. Are they suspect to big plays?
I actually think you're looking for susceptible.
Susceptible. That's the word. Yeah. I needed the past tense. I don't know. But yeah, are they susceptible to big plays?
And that's kind of been the Ole Miss bugaboo for the last few years.
Well,
the big plays, right?
Well, if you saw that blank stare there, I was trying to figure out how to word how frustrating it is to watch a team that I don't know if they can or cannot tackle, but they don't. Yeah. So just go back to that 2021 Arkansas game. I think that is a glaring example of big play after big play. Now, granted, our offense had big play after big play, and that's why we won that sucker 52-51 or whatever it was, but it is frustrating for your offense. Those are fun games to watch, but real hard.
They're fun when they're over and you actually won.
Yeah.
Because me personally, I get madder than hell seeing us strike and, go 70-something yards in 2 plays and then turn around and give up an 80-yard bomb and just get right back to them, right?
Well, and it's frustrating. Like I said, I've never played football.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm sure it's very difficult to tackle some of these very big guys who you're having to drag down. But even I could go out there and lay down in front of, make them fall down somehow.
Yeah. I could definitely lay down. That's about the only thing I'm confident saying.
It's tough to watch.
Yeah.
If you very tough. If you hadn't gathered that from my man here, it is so maddening to watch.
It is
a team go down and the offense just click and score a touchdown
over and over and over again,
and watch the defense just not
right
tackle.
And
it's beyond scheme. It's beyond not being able to cover,
and
it's beyond not being able to not stop the run. It's I've done it. I've done what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah,
I just can't finish.
Yeah, and there were times last year where I thought we had turned a corner, where we were able to come up with those stops when we needed to. Just look at Kentucky, for example. Where they're driving down the field to, win the game on us, right? And we come up with the big fumble right there. So we were really opportunistic, I think is the best way of putting it last year. We were able to create turnovers when we needed to.
Which is good.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have it. You have to have
it. But it can't be all that. That's
nah. That's what because you're not going to force turnovers all the time. But again, we got Pete Golden coming in this year. Hopefully, he can fix that. We got a bunch of transfers coming in. To give a little bit of boost to the talent level down there in Oxford. So we'll see what they can do. And obviously, really excited for football season coming up. We're going to be doing these things all throughout football season. But right now, we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to look at SEC win totals. We'll go over under. I've got numbers here. I Bleav they're from DraftKings.
Okay.
And so we'll just start from the top and go down. The very first one, you have Alabama set at 10.5. Hitch. Do you want me to read their schedule off to you? Oh, and for the over, you get it at plus 148. Over 10.5.
What's the schedule?
All right, so
Just read the SEC team.
Well, no.
Oh wait, no, we're talking about Alabama. Sorry, they play good schedule.
Yeah. So I will do the SEC plus the relevant non-conference. How about that? All right, week 2 they get Texas and Tuscaloosa. Look, man, if Quinn Ewers doesn't get hurt, I think they beat them last year in Austin. Now it's different in Austin than it is Tuscaloosa. And Alabama doesn't have Bryce Young. Without them, they don't beat Texas without Quinn Ewers.
Well, what I was going to say is I think that's the reason that it's not going to matter if he plays or not in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
Because it was such it felt like everybody came out and was like, oh, Texas made Alabama bleed.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And I feel like Alabama's going to be like, I'll show you blood.
Yeah. Well, I've kind of thought maybe this is the year Alabama takes like a small step back. Like I'm not calling the dynasty over or anything like that, but anytime you have quarterback questions, that's obviously a concern. But Nick Saban met with the media towards the end of last week after one of their practices, and he did something I've never seen in my entire life. When he was done talking to the media, he turned at them and he smiled, and I thought,
he knows something we don't know.
Yeah. He's sitting here and he's reading all these press clippings about how the dynasty's over, and he's just sitting there thinking, all right, y'all, I got something for y'all's ass.
Yeah.
But you get Texas there in week 2, and then the SEC schedule. They open up the SEC slate with Ole Miss at home. Then they go to Tennessee. And then this is a pretty good, or to Mississippi State, I should say. So Ole Miss at home, at Starkville. Then this is a pretty good little run for them. Then they go at A&M, at home for Arkansas, Tennessee, LSU. And then they go to Kentucky and at Auburn to close the year. If it was me, I'm still going to bet under 10.5.
Well, they got Middle Tennessee.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Texas is the only relevant one there. Basically, you're seeing, can you find 2 losses on the schedule? Because 10-2 doesn't get you there. LSU can beat them. I don't know if they will. Really good team. Tennessee could beat them, another really good team, but they get both of those teams at home along with Ole Miss.
I'm going over.
Are you?
Because I'm getting a plus 148.
Yeah, that's the one thing that makes it enticing to take the over is the fact that you get plus odds on it.
And you know what? As I'm thinking about this, there's probably going to be a lot of little O's by my name.
Yeah, think so.
You know how I feel about unders, man.
You hate them. All right, well, I'm going to go under. I'll take the Alabama under. Hitch is going over. Maybe by the end of the year, we can go back and see how we actually did on these. So, all right, next one up, Arkansas, over under 6.5. You get the over at minus 134 and under plus 110. Let's see what the
plus
ratio.
110?
Yeah, plus 110 on the under. This might be one undertake just so you can get plus odds, right? All right, so 6.5 is the number here. I'll give them all 4 of their non-cons. Toughest one being BYU, but they do come to Fayetteville. I think Arkansas is going to be a pretty
game
good
last
team.
year.
Do what?
That was a battle last year.
Yeah, it was. But with Rocket Sanders and KJ Jefferson back, though, I mean, that's a hell of a tandem on the offensive side of the ball. Now, we don't know what this defense is going to look like. They're a lot like Ole Miss. They have a ton of transfers on that side of the ball. But if I give them all 4 of those, then I'm looking to see if they can win 2.
3?
2. No, 3. 3, you're right.
Because it's
6.5. Yeah. So 3 conference games. That A&M game they play in Arlington every year is always so weird. It's always a weird game for them. It doesn't matter. That's one they could win.
That's early for them to play LSU, right?
Oh, yeah, it is.
Usually,
yeah, 4th game of the year, that is early.
It's usually the Friday after Thanksgiving.
Halloween, right?
Yeah, something. Yeah.
Somewhere in there, though. October, November is usually when you see that.
They
All right,
to
but look, I'm
Florida.
going to go over because I think they're going to beat Missouri at home. I think they beat Auburn at home. I think they beat Mississippi State at home.
Over.
Right there, that's over for me. I don't really even feel that worried about it. All right, next up, the Florida Gators. 5.5 wins. You get the over at -134, the under at +110. Florida, 5.5. And they're one of the SEC teams that don't get the benefit of the non-cons because they go to Utah and they also get Florida State at home as their annual rivalry game there to end the year. So 2 of the 4 non-cons are some pretty good teams with Utah and Florida State. Neither one of which that I would give them. I'll give them McNeese and Charlotte to get them to 2.
They're going to get
Do what?
hammered by Florida State.
Yes, they're going to get hammered by Utah. They're not going to beat Tennessee. I will give them 1 of Kentucky and Vanderbilt, just 1. They're going to lose 1 of those. So that's 1, 2, 3.
South Carolina, they lose that game.
They lose that game. It's a hard under for me.
Georgia, on the face of the moon, they lose that game.
I mean, especially with the plus odds, I don't see how you can do anything but
They got
under.
Missouri.
That's at Missouri, though. I'm not ready to give them at Missouri. Hell, I'm not ready to give them Vanderbilt in the swamp. I mean, hell, Vandy beat them last year, right? I mean, I don't know, man. 5.5 seems to be too much when you don't have 4 built in with your non-cons. If you're going to give me plus odds on 5.5, I'll take it. I'm certainly not going to pay the juice to take the over. All right, this one, I'm not even going to look up the schedule. It's the Georgia Bulldogs. It is 11.5, and I'm going to go over because not only do I not think they will lose a game, they're going to give me plus odds to bet on them going undefeated in the regular season at +116. Done deal. That's where I'm going. You're going under? Okay. So you think they lose to Tennessee? That's really the only one because it's in Knoxville, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't pulled up schedule, but if I remember right, that was in Knoxville. All right, so you're doing under. You're going to pay the juice to go under and bet against Kirby and the boys, huh? Okay. I will not be doing that. I'm banking on 12-0 season for the Bulldogs.
I don't have much of an explanation for it either.
Well, if there's anything, it's the question at quarterback. You get Carson Beck coming in for his first year starting. That seems to be the consensus he's going to be starting for them. So you wonder what that's going to look like. But I just think there's so much more talented everywhere else than anybody else.
I do too.
That's just where I'm going to go with it.
I just said that I don't have an explanation for it, but I really think what it is that's so little margin for error.
And it is, especially in this league. Again, the grind of it week in and week out.
It's like, I feel like
you look, Missouri almost come up and bid them last year, right?
Yeah. I feel like for them to win 12, everything has to go right.
Mm-hmm. It does.
But for them to go under, like, just one thing could go wrong.
Yeah. I'm still betting that it's going to go right.
Oh, yeah, I'm down. Yeah, go for it.
Especially with the plus odds. Again, that's one thing that makes the no-brainer for me. You're telling me I don't have to pay any juice to take them to go 12-0? Yeah, I'm in. All right, next, Kentucky Wildcats. I think this one's really interesting. 6.5 is the total. The over is -176. So that's a lot of juice on the over there, under 142. Again, another one of those teams that has a built-in Power 5 rival for their non-con. They go to Louisville at the end of the year. I personally don't know a lot about Louisville. I've heard a lot of people talk about them. A lot of people think they're going to be really good. But Kentucky's going to start off at least 3-0, probably 4-0. Their fourth one's at Vanderbilt, and then they get Florida. God bless their souls. They go to Georgia. Yeah. Missouri at home, Tennessee at home, at State, and boy, they didn't get any favors from the SEC office with the cross division opponent. They get Alabama coming to Lexington. So
What'd you say? 6.5?
6.5, I Bleav is the number. Let me double check that to make sure. Yeah, 6.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
Do they have anybody? Well, I guess I can look.
Man, I think
they're
I'll go
returning.
over.
They're what I call that stat while ago, expected returners.
Yeah,
They're bringing back a bunch.
Well, yeah, and they get O'Leary in, that North Carolina State quarterback. He transferred in, who was really good at NC State before.
I
Bleav
think
he got
over.
hurt. Yeah, over. Even with the juice, I'm going to go over.
Well, that leads me to even because at a certain point, the juice gets to a point that I'm not afraid to pay it because
I'm confident I'll win it.
Yeah,
It's like that's, which is why you get lines and over and total stuff with that much juice.
I guess what I was saying
at the
is
same
not
time.
only am I confident,
They
apparently
are too.
other people are
Yeah,
confident.
they are too. Right. So, all right. Next up, the LSU Tigers. Total 9.5, and you don't get a break either way. It's minus 110 each way, over and under. 9.5 for the LSU Tigers. Let's see here. That'll be a real interesting one to go through their schedule because they open up with Florida State. To get 9.5, they have to have that game. They have to beat Florida State.
Because they beat Grambling.
Yeah, they're going to beat Grambling. They're going to beat Mississippi State. I think they beat Arkansas too. It's in Baton Rouge. Really, their first SEC test after they get past Florida State beginning of the year. The first SEC test is at Ole Miss September 30th. And we'll get to Ole Miss here in a minute. If I'm not mistaken, Ole Miss is going to be coming off of playing in Tuscaloosa the week before too. So that's going to be tough. So let's just call it 1.
What'd you say? It was 9?
9.5.
Oh, under.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking too.
7.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That Florida State game's the hang up if they get there or not.
Hey, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about this,
I think I'm going over.
this feels like a sucker bet. Like, I feel like this one should be 7.5 or 8. And they've got it bumped up so high, trying to talk you into taking the under.
I'm going to go 10-2. So I'm giving them the over. I got their 2 losses in Oxford and in Tuscaloosa. I think the Rebels jump up and get them. Hopefully, Ole Miss coming off of a win in Tuscaloosa. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. But I'll take the LSU Tigers over 9.5. And with them losing to Alabama, that should help my Alabama. Oh, I went under there.
Yeah, you did. That's
Yeah,
tough.
so that kind of contradicts a little bit.
I'm going under LSU.
All right, I think I'm still sticking over. All right, so Mississippi State 6.5 is the total. You get the over at plus 134, under at minus 164.
Over at 164.
Over at plus 1.
Okay, under at 164.
Under is minus 164. Over plus 134. Let's see. What did I say? 6.5. 1, 2, 3, 4. God, I'm going under. I can't get them there. I mean, they would have to. I mean, to get there, they have to either win at South Carolina, at Arkansas, at Auburn, at A&M. I mean, those are just tough road games.
You say 6.5?
6.5. 7. Yes, you've got to get to 7.
I'm going over.
Really?
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
What 3 conference games you got them winning?
I think they beat LSU.
No.
At 11 a.m. at home.
No way. All right, I'm going under, and I'm comfortable there. You're just wrong.
I get it. I probably am.
All right. The Missouri Tigers coming up. 6.5 total there. Over plus 116. Under minus 142. Let's see if we get with the Missouri Tigers. 6.5. So 1. Ooh, and they get Kansas State out of conference. That's not going to be fun for them. 3.
6.5 for Missouri.
I'm going under.
Yeah.
Going under. And that brings us to our Ole Miss Rebels. The number is 7.5. Hitch.
Over.
Over at -118, under -104. So 7.5. Let's see. 4 non-cons, obviously. So you're looking for 4 SEC wins. Over. Yeah. Yeah, definitely an over for me. I think 8-4 may be the floor for this team. Now, I don't think there's a particularly high ceiling because of how hard the schedule is.
Yeah.
At the same time, obviously anything can happen in 7-5. Wouldn't really shock me, but if I had to bet this total right now, I'm betting 8-4, and I'll go over on Ole Miss with the potential to get as good as.
What'd you say the juice was?
-118 on the over. And then -104 on the under. And here's one that, I'll go ahead and look up the schedule just to make sure, but I'm pretty sure I'm betting over. South Carolina Gamecock, 6.5. And you get the over at +144. And the under at -178. So it must have a pretty,
Well,
get Clemson and North Carolina out of conference
that's
right
what I was
off the
just
bat, right?
and then you got Tennessee, Georgia,
at Georgia, at Tennessee, at A&M. All right, so
who's the other West team?
Mississippi State. So they can get that. So give them the 2 non-cons. They get Mississippi State at home. I'll give them that one. They get Florida at home. I'll give them that one. They get Vanderbilt at home. I'll give them that one. Kentucky at home. I'm giving them that one. It'll come down, in my opinion, to if they can beat Missouri on the road. And that's assuming they don't take either of the 2 non-conference Power 5 teams. North Carolina, I think that one's being played in Charlotte. And then they get Clemson at home. They went to Clemson and beat the Tigers last year. So I'm actually still going with the over.
You know what?
I'm going with the over.
Yeah, me too.
Tennessee. Ooh, this will be a good one. 9.5 wins. Over 146. Under -188. But you can get the over at +146 at 9.5 wins.
And the unders, where are the juices?
Yeah. All right, so we got to get to 10. Virginia, Austin P, UTSA,
You know what?
and UConn. That's 4.
Under.
Just like that, huh?
Because it's Tennessee.
Yeah, right. I'm kind of right there with you, but I'm going to go through schedule to make sure. So I've got them 4, 5, 6, 7. Under.
Yeah, they're going to have to.
I'm
do it
comfortable
again.
with 8-4 with them, but that's about as comfortable as I can get as 8-4, and that's still 2 wins short. So even if they pull off another one,
And-
they're still not going to get there.
To be perfectly honest, the last thing that this world needs is another Tennessee team being good. So I kind of feel like I'm on the side of justice and right here.
Well, you're for humanity is what it is.
Yeah, right. Like if I hit this under 9.5, then I may have saved the world.
That's right. That's right. We know for a fact the world is happier because of it.
What
Right.
an awful color.
Right? An awful fan base. All right. Texas A&M, 7.5, over 176, under 142. I cannot wait to bet this under.
I can't either.
Can't wait. All right. They're going to lose at Miami. So you
Every
only
game.
get 3 non-cons. So that's 3. Let's see if I can find, what I say, 7.5. So I've got to find 5 SEC wins.
No, you said 6.5. I think.
Well, it's 7.5.
Oh, well, I wrote it down wrong.
So if they only get, if they lose that Miami game, they've got to go 5-3 in the SEC. So let's
There
see if I
another
can
one.
get them there.
Like, you're just going to have
Or
to
just
like, you have to show me that you
Yeah,
can do it.
that's it. But 3, 4, and they get Tennessee from the East this year too. I mean, that's going to be one of the most hatedly watched football games of all time, right? With A&M and Tennessee.
Oh, yeah. I dislike both of them so much.
Yeah, this is.
But yeah, under for sure.
Oh, that's a hard under, and you get the under at plus 142.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So give me that. All right, this one I'm not even going to pull up the schedule. Vanderbilt Commodores 3.5. Give me the over at minus 170.
Over, yeah.
Over.
Yeah.
They might end up winning all 4 of their non-cons. The one that might get them will be Wake Forest. But even so, I think they end up getting somebody in the SEC this year. You know, they're going to play Missouri. They're going to play Kentucky.
Well,
2 teams that I don't think are bad, but I think are gettable.
Yeah, this is one of those. The over is 112 in a basketball game, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
I don't care who you are.
Yeah, I'm just taking it, right? So yeah, definitely going over on Vanderbilt there. Barkley's done such a good job there. He's really turned the culture and quite frankly, the perspective of what that program is and can be. Now nobody thinks they're going to go off and win 7, 8 games, anything like that, but you know. But you kind of knew after you played Vanderbilt last year, though, like you knew your ass was in a fight by the time that game was over with. You know, they don't quit on him. He's a great motivator, and I think he's doing a good job. He's building it the old school way in a new school college football environment, right?
Well, and it's nice for the rest of the country to find out what Ole Miss has always known.
Yeah.
That Vanderbilt's good.
Yeah, that's right. They are no slouch. Okay, so quit making fun of us for them being permanent opponent. Greg Sankey, if you're listening, and I'm sure you are, let's go ahead and make Vanderbilt that permanent opponent when Texas and Oklahoma come in. When we get that final schedule down pat, when all this realignment stuff's done, give us the Vanderbilt Commodores. It's the absolutely most hated
Christian thing to do.
Well, yeah, it may be the Christian thing to do, but it's also the most heated rivalry in all of college football, and you can't take that. You can't take that away from the country. Okay, this is why people tune in to college football, is to watch games like Ole Miss and Vanderbilt. All right, 100%. So do your job. All right, and that is all of the over-unders here for the 2023 SEC football season. Hopefully Hitch wrote them all down so we can go back and see how we did towards the end of the year and see who was right and who was wrong. And then Hitch can tell me why he was right more than I was, because that's probably how that's going to end up going. So, but I appreciate everybody coming in for another edition of Dids in the Dugout that had absolutely nothing to do with baseball. But either way, I still appreciate y'all tuning in. And me and Hitch will figure out something to talk about next week. We're going to do this every week for you guys. So hopefully y'all keep coming back. Like, subscribe, comment. If there's anything in the show y'all want to see, let us know. We're going to end up getting a gambling contest of some kind going once the season kicks off. And if we can maybe think of something for the loser that doesn't involve me cutting my hair, then maybe we can do that, because I'm actually not cutting my not cutting my hair. Don't look like that. But I appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure you tune in next week and drop us a comment with anything y'all want to see on the show. And appreciate y'all hanging out with us here for almost an hour. And Hitch, appreciate you coming and doing this with me again, buddy.
Yep.
All right. Howdy, bud.